So we're a few days into Sukkot. Pretty soon we'll be at Hoshana Rabbah, and then we'll be at the final stage, Simchas Torah, Shmini Atzeres. And as the Sfarim write, this is all one process that began with Rosh Chodesh Elul, and it's a build-up. We've mentioned that Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the tshuva that a person reaches, or that he's misugal, that he's prone to reach, is tshuva meira, is a tshuva that's done out of fear or out of awe, out of the majesty of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, being overwhelmed by Hashem's majesty in the world. We were supposed to have tried to reach that level of awareness on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. And then we know that Sukkot is Man Simchaseinu, where we try to get close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu now, not through awe and fear, but through simcha. But then the interesting thing is that then Hoshana Rabbah comes. Hoshana Rabbah is sort of like back to like a fear Yom Kippur type of theme. And then you go into the highest level of simcha, the culmination of Sukkot, which actually the Gemara says is a new holiday in and of itself, called Shmini Atzeres / Simchas Torah. So Rav Osher Weiss brings down in his Sefer, he says that you find that not by Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, but certainly by Sukkot. Every day of Sukkot right now, we have hakafas. We circle the bimah one time with our lulav and esrog. Comes Hoshana Rabbah, we're going to circle 7 times. Comes Shmini Atzeres Simchas Torah, we're going to circle also 7 times. We actually circle a lot more because the song keeps going on and on and on. But the idea, of course, we know there's hakafa aleph, hakafa bet, there's 7 hakafot. So this idea of 7 circling every day of Sukkot, we circle once. And on Hoshana Rabbah, we circle 7 times. And on Simchas Torah, Shmini Atzeres, we circle 7 times. What's the whole idea of the circling, of going around the bimah? Or this whole idea of hakafot. So Rav Osher Weiss says that, brought down in the Gemara in Psachim, that throughout the year, when we sin and we do chataim against HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so we build a literal wall. They actually call it an iron wall. Or it's a mechitzat barzel. Beinenu leben avinu shebashamayim. So there's literally a wall. And that's why it says it's hard for the tefillot to get through. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like the Rambam says, before a person does tshuva, a person does mitzvahs, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't receive it. Literally there's a block, right? There's a filter made out of iron. Very hard to get through. And the whole process of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Hoshana Rabbah, Shmini Atzeres is an attempt to get through that wall so that we can be reunited with Hashem. And he says there's 3 ways that you could actually, get past a wall. There's digging under the wall, right? Hamas knows all about that, how to dig under, right? Unfortunately. But there's a way you dig under the wall. That's one way of getting through to the other side. There's climbing over the wall, and then there is break on through to the other side. No doors. If there was a door, it'd be easy, right? There's no doors. And of course, breaking through is the best solution. Why? Because when you go underneath, as a person goes underneath, you don't know how deep the wall is, right? The state of Israel, when they build the wall that separates between us and the Palestinians, right? It's deeper probably going down. How deep is it going down? It's very deep going down, right? It's very, very deep going down. So a person doesn't know how deep. So imagine if you have to dig under the wall to get to a HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to get through this wall that separates between us and Hashem. You don't know how far you're going to go. Maybe it'll be so deep you'll never get there. And climbing over the wall, you see how tall it is. What's the problem with climbing over? It's dangerous. Person climbs and climbs and he gets to the wall. Now he's got to... What happens if he falls? He slips when he's on top of the wall. He falls and dies. The best thing is if you could just somehow dissolve the wall, break through the wall. Try to get the wall to disappear. Then you don't have to go down. You don't have to go up. You can just go straight through. So he says that's the idea of this whole process. The process of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is to try to dig under the wall. It's a tshuva where the wall is still there, right? Because it's tshuva meira. It's tshuva made out of fear or awe. So the wall is still there, but you try to go underneath. And we find tshuva is referred to as digging underneath. Where do I know that from? Right, the famous medrash that says that the world was created with yud hey, the yud and the hey. It says, right, the olam haba is the yud, this world is the hey. Why is this world the hey? Because when a person sins, he falls through the hay, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu dug a division That what's the difference between a hay and a chet? That the yud part of the hay doesn't connect. It says over there that's the place for Bali Tshuva to crawl back in. So the idea is that a Bali Tshuva has to sometimes crawl under the wall. That's when it's Meira. Comes Sukkos, Simcha. So Simcha is climbing over the wall. It's less dirty. If you can imagine, if you have to dig a tunnel under the wall, it's dirty. It's much harder. Much harder. But climbing over the wall is much easier. You just need maybe some good shoes, some hiking boots, whatever, to climb the wall. Maybe some ropes, etc. But you certainly don't have to dig. Digging is a lot harder. So that's tshuva me'ava. That's the tshuva of Sukkos. But just like if you dig or if you decide to scale the wall, it takes a lot of exertion. Both take a lot of exertion. And to do it in one shot is very difficult. So therefore, let's say on Sukkot, every day we only go around once. In other words, let's say there's 7 levels to that wall. Every day you either dig under by one measure, rest, and then do a little bit more the next day. Or when you're climbing over, you climb to one level, you rest, then you climb another level, rest again. It's exerting, and so therefore it has to be done in stages. Every day another level. But comes Hoshana Rabbah and Simchas Torah. Over there we do all 7 at once. All 7 at once. And what's the idea? So Hoshana Rabbah is a culmination. It's a culmination of all the 7 days of Sukkot. But Simchas Torah is on a different level altogether. Simchas Torah is like the 7 revolutions that they made around the walls of Yericho. What happened after they went around the walls of Yericho 7 times? The walls sunk. The walls disappeared. They didn't dig under the wall to get into Yericho. They didn't scale the wall to go over the wall to get into Yericho. They made the wall vanish by going around 7 times. So you see that doing 7 hakafot, going around 7 times, is the best way. It's the most powerful way to break that wall between us and Hashem, so that we don't have to get dirty and go under or go over. We go straight through. How does Simchas Torah have such a power? Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur doesn't have that power. Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, you're digging under. Sukkos itself doesn't have that power. You have to go over. Only Simchas Torah has the power, like in Yericho, that the wall could absolutely dissolve. And where does that come from? So he says over here, it's in the schut of the Torah. What is the mitzvah of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur? Shofar, Yom Kippur is vidui, tshuva. What's the mitzvah of Sukkos? The arba minim and sitting in the sukkah, which these are mitzvahs that bring you joy. But it's joy it's a simcha of mitzvah. It's a joy in serving Hashem by doing mitzvahs. Simchas Torah, the last day, Shmini Atzeres, which is Simchas Torah, is relating to Hashem through Torah study, through Talmud Torah. And that's the most intimate way of getting close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We say Talmud Torah Geneged Kulam. Because when we learn Torah, we're learning how HaKadosh Baruch Hu views the world. We're learning how Hashem, so to speak, thinks. And therefore, if the whole idea of our mission in life is to become as similar to Hashem as possible, because the more we're similar, the closer we are, how does a person become the most similar to Hashem? By mimicking his ways, or actually by studying his brain, so to speak, kaviyachal. If we understand HaKadosh Baruch Hu's brain, and we understand how he thinks, and we learn his secrets, so then that's the closest way to get to Hashem, because then we become almost like him. We become so close to him. Because we know everything that he knows, that he decides that a human being could handle. We can't understand everything because we're not Hashem. But everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided that human beings could absorb, you absorb that through Torah. So therefore, on Simchas Torah, when we rejoice, it's not just the simcha of sukkahs, of mitzvahs, the simcha of lulav, the simcha of sitting in a sukkah. It's the simcha of the Torah itself, of our unique relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore, the simcha of learning the Torah, the simcha of valuing the Torah, of appreciating the Torah, dedicating ourselves to learning more Torah over the coming year, that is how you dissolve the wall. That's how we dissolve the wall. We've built up this wall over the last year. The way to dissolve it entirely so that we can just walk straight into the arms of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak, is by rejoicing and dancing 7 times around with the Sefer Torah. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees that with all the difficulties that we've had in the world, with all the tzarot that we have in the world, that we still cling to Hashem's Torah and to learning His Torah, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes that wall, just like in Jericho, by Yericho, the wall sank into the ground, so too the wall between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will sink into the ground, and then we'll be zoichet to the highest level of tshuva ma'ava. The relationship that we achieved last Simchas Torah will be fully restored and achieved again. So over these next few days, to rejoice in the mitzvahs of Sukkah, mitzvahs of Arba Minim, and to get ready to dance well, and to really be besimcha on Simchas Torah, because that's when the wall comes down totally and we come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Chag Sameach.